What's up everybody, Matt Maran here for another weekly update. There's lots of exciting news to go over here this week. But before I get into the news, I first want to mention I'll be doing my usual weekly live stream here on Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern time. So join if you can. It's always a fun time hanging out and talking cars with all of you. But getting into the news here this week, Autocar got some interesting new info here from Toyota GR engineer Hiroku Yamada, who is working on the 2-liter turbo 4-cylinder GR motor that we just saw a couple of months back in the mid-engined Yaris, GR Yaris M concept, as they call it. So he revealed that this engine can be paired with a hybrid and a plug-in hybrid powertrain. Now he said can be. Doesn't mean it absolutely will be, but it sounds like that is what they're working on here. He says this engine is smaller and lighter thanks to a shorter piston stroke, and that the lighter engine will minimize the weight penalty of adding on the hybrid stuff. So hopefully, you know, it won't be this giant bloated thing like we're seeing with many others. And the engineer said, this technology we create, we will apply to both motorsport and passenger car engines. In the future, we want a more fuel efficient engine for GR cars. So past rumors have suggested this thing could do 400 horsepower. Now, you know, I think we were all assuming it would do 400 horsepower unassisted because, you know, we see obviously Mercedes does like their 2-liter, 4-cylinder that does like 416 horsepower. So we know it's definitely possible in a production vehicle these days. But whether Toyota wants to take a more conservative approach and rely on the hybridization to get to the 400, which sounds like more of the Toyota way to not, maximize a motor that much, for a production car. We'll have to see. So maybe the 400 horsepower is for a plug-in hybrid version or something like that. But either way, 400 horsepower in a GR car, sounds like a great time here. Should still sound great too, being obviously a turbo 4-cylinder. Those always have the potential to sound really cool if they're tuned right. And as far as that mid-engine concept that's rumored to be a test mule for a new MR2 potentially, Yamada provided a funny update here on the development with him telling Autocar saying here that the concept has a tendency to lose control when the weight shifts in long corners, something Yamada calls a pray to God moment. And this is something we still need to develop, he says, which sounds like an understatement if the car is scaring you to death mid-corner. So that kind of gives you a barometer of how far along we are on MR2 development, if it is actually an MR2 or whatever, they're doing with this thing. I think clearly, there's a lot of work to be done, so don't expect a new MR2 next year. Sounds like if, again, this mule is, being temperamental and tricky already, give them time to work out the mule and then put it into production stuff. And I mean, it's going to be a while. So, the Japanese don't rush development, that's for sure. And I'm sure it'll be, late 2020s here before we actually see this vehicle show up. But that's a fun little update. And it's always cool whenever they kind of peel back the curtain a little bit and are willing to reveal this stuff. So great report there by Autocar, and interested to see, what those hybridized GR products end up looking like here in the future. Alfa Romeo has shown us a heavily camouflaged next generation Stelvio here undergoing winter testing in Sweden. And this one appears to be the electric version, although we know a gas version is coming eventually too. That is something that Alfa Romeo has now said. They're not going to go all electric in 2026 or whatever, and they are doing gas versions and, the same kind of powertrain mix we see from other Stellantis brands. And this one, they say, will be debuting this year sometime, with sales starting in 2026 and the Giulia coming shortly after. And as far as the look here, I mean, it's a little hard to tell with all the camo, but it looks to have a longer and lower hood and front end than before and a more sloped back end. It kind of reminds me of the Ferrari Purosangue with its, proportions in a way. Really nice looking so far. There's also a longer wheelbase you can see here and a slightly longer look overall, partially due to this now being on the STLA large platform, which even in its smallest configuration still is going to add about 3 inches of wheelbase length to, what the Stelvio has for the current version right now. So yeah, I'm liking what I'm seeing so far. Let me know what you think about that in the comments below. Looks like there's a little LED strips there that are kind of angular for the front and the back, and I don't know, we'll have to see again obviously once that's all peeled away, but looking forward to seeing that final design here later this year. Getting back to another car that's getting electrified for more performance here is the Mercedes CLA that I just covered last week. The regular versions, both gas and electric available for those. I'll include that at the end of this video if you missed that one. But thanks to another report from Autocar here, we now know that at least the first AMG version will be all electric. And according to Mercedes' chief technical officer who spoke with Autocar, that AMG version will be having a starting output of 500 horsepower thanks to axial flux motors. And these are the same kind that AMG's been talking about putting in their top platform, the EA platform, for their super high performance, high end stuff. And we had assumed, you know, because these motors are a little more expensive sometimes to produce, that stuff would stay for those top Mercedes for a while. But it sounds like this is coming to, you know, just the regular CLA on the regular MMA platform here, this new electric platform, which is still very impressive. It's an 800 volt architecture and all this, but, you know, the fact that they're putting these, you know, fancier motors in it is really cool. And so there's no other info we have on it just yet, other than likely a debut coming next year. But, you know, sounds very promising, great to hear, and, you know, should be a very solid performer. We already have, you know, the CLA 350 electric version. That's, you know, 350 horsepower, already at AMG power levels really there, at least, you know, between CLA 35 and CLA 45 for last gen. And that's already does a sub 5 seconds 0 to 60. And this sounds like it's going to be, you know, much faster than that with an extra 150 horsepower to start. Obviously, I guess there's S versions or whatever coming as well. But anyway, unfortunately, one small Mercedes we won't be getting anymore is the A-Class, with Mercedes confirming to Italian magazine Quattro Route that the A-Class is still going away to consolidate the lineup and cut costs, leaving the CLA as the entry-level model. And we've heard about this for a while now, that, you know, Mercedes is going to consolidate a bunch of models. I don't remember exactly what was confirmed and what wasn't, but at the end of the day, you know, now we get confirmation that A-Class will not be renewed, and they didn't say when the current generation is going away. For those of you in Europe, here in the States, we got, you know, we didn't have the A-Class after 2022. That's when they removed it from the States here. But for the rest of the world, I'm not sure how long it's lasting still, but you know, still just sad nonetheless. Obviously, this makes sense with the consolidation. You know, A-Class and CLA seem to overlap a good bit anyway, especially for the sedan versions. But, you know, I guess now they're just suggesting anyone that wants a hot hatch, you know, baby Mercedes, go for the GLA. You know, you get a little bit of extra ground clearance, but at least it's still that hatchback form pretty much. So yeah, there's no word on, you know, when that's going to end. But anyway, interesting to hear that. The other little tidbit that they also got here during this discussion with Mercedes was that the baby G-Wagon won't be on the MMA platform, and we'll get something else in order to provide it with credible off-road capability, which is something, there's been rumors that, you know, that new baby G-Wagon was going to be on that, you know, platform that you see on the CLA. And obviously that would have made most of us roll our eyes like, okay, well, this baby G-Wagon is just a cash grab, not actually going to be off-road capable like the real G-Wagon. But this shows that they are going to take that seriously, and it's going to have its own platform. So anyway, very interesting to hear that. One European brand that still is planning on sending its cars to the US here is Cupra, which is the sporty spin-off brand of Seat, one of the Volkswagen brands in Europe there. So last year they announced that Cupra planned to bring EVs to the US by the end of the decade, and despite all the tariff talk and despite, you know, all the other, you know, companies' struggles, Automotive News is reporting that last week during a press conference about the company's finances, Cupra's CEO reaffirmed that our decision to bring Cupra to the US by the end of the decade remains unchanged. This is a long-term decision that cannot be determined on the basis of short-term fluctuations. So, like I've been saying, in regards to brand plans, vehicle plans, manufacturing plans, you know, whenever I've been discussing these tariffs in the past few weeks, all these things are long-term things that can't be swapped over, you know, for a year or two or even 4 years. You know, these are things that are long term. And so this is another example of that, like, you know, this was their plan. They're still planning on doing this. And I guess, you know, to give them credit, I mean, this is going to be happening, you know, after any kind of tariff stuff, most likely, assuming, you know, that we don't have another person that continues these same, you know, policies in a next administration. But, you know, still, it's just, again, kind of another example of that. that. And it's also, though, interesting to hear that they're not discouraged, even though, there is this very anti-import kind of mentality currently. They still want to try and import their vehicles here to the States. It doesn't sound like they'll build anything here in America, because if they were planning on that, then they most likely would have had to, again, start building plants now to have them ready by 2029. So we'll have to see, what they plan on doing with all that. But the one change in their plan here is that it won't just be EVs anymore, though. With them now planning to bring all over also gas and plug-in hybrid Cupras as well. And so they've also been in talks with Penske Automotive Group to bring dealerships and establish a network under Penske there for the East Coast and West Coast, as well as the Sun Belt for now. That they're still figuring out which models to bring. That's kind of their next thing they're working on here. But interesting to hear that, and I could go, through the whole Cupra lineup and do a wish list of things that I'm hoping for. But anything sporty, especially the hot hatches, but even sporty SUVs are always welcome. Anything sporty I'm happy to see. So best of luck to them, and interesting to hear that. Chinese car company BYD had an exciting announcement here this week, revealing their new Super E platform that has a 1,000 volt electrical architecture here and can charge at 1 megawatt, which is 1,000 kilowatts. It can add almost 250 miles of range in just 5 minutes. Really, an impressive innovation, considering the most recent developments we've heard from non-Chinese car companies was stuff recharging as fast as maybe like 15 to 18 minutes. And although that is on the easier Chinese testing cycle, and we don't know what a 10% to 80% charge is, that's still like the typical measurement. But, with these things being very high range, most likely as well. I mean, just the fact that, 250 miles with a 5-minute plug-in, that's everyone's gas fill up. That's everyone's P brake. You can't get it done faster than 5 minutes. I don't think so, and then to go another 250 miles, that lasts you, another 4 hours or so. That's really impressive. And BYD's chairman and president said, to completely eliminate users' charging anxiety, our goal is to make EV charging as fast as refueling a gasoline car, achieving oil-electric parity in charging speed. Now, obviously, finding a charger that can actually put out 1,000 kilowatts is going to be a challenge for a while, even in China. But BYD is planning to build over 4,000 chargers across China that can charge at this rate. And they've already even developed a charger that can deliver 1,360 kilowatts. So the next evolution is already on the horizon. They're already talking about it here. So the rate of evolution with this stuff is just really unheard of and so wild, honestly. And also, this stuff isn't some far-off concept like we often hear stuff teased, from other companies. They say this platform will start production soon and will go in 2 of their regular models, the Han L sedan and the Tang L SUV, which only cost about $37,000 at current exchange rates, which, again, it's crazy. Also, this platform is going to be running a single motor that does 778 horsepower, which is also an insane amount of output for a single electric motor. And again, at $37,000, just wild. Meanwhile, even all the engineering might and all the money of Volkswagen Group has resulted in Porsche saying they should have a 980 volt platform late this decade, meaning their $100,000 plus vehicles that are at least 3 to 4 years away will just barely be maybe matching or getting close to matching what $40,000 cars in China can do in the next few months here. So it's really just every day seeming more and more like China's living in the 2030s already as far as cars go. And it is wild to see what can happen whenever you have the right investments, the right support, and the right push. They've already eliminated charging anxiety. Basically, that's it's wild. So anyway, kudos to them on the brilliant engineering work there to make that possible. Mazda has also shown their new EV platform here this week, and unlike the EZ6 sedan that's made in China already through a partnership with Chinese car company Changan, this platform will be designed in-house by Mazda for Japan and other parts of the world. They didn't say which parts, but the fact that it's going to be available in Japan means there's an option. I'm sure that it would come here and other places. This isn't just another thing for China, is the bottom line here. They teased an SUV silhouette on top of the platform and said the first production model on this platform will arrive in 2027. The batteries are being developed in partnership with Panasonic, but other than that, we don't have any other specifics for this platform just yet. So they kind of just wanted to let us know it's coming fairly soon. I think sooner than a lot of us expected, and that it's going to be all in-house by Mazda, which again, I don't know how Mazda is bankrolling all this stuff. Bankrolling developing an inline-six turbo engine, bankrolling a rear-wheel drive-based platform, a premium platform like that, bankrolling their own electric stuff whenever we have, Toyota even partnering up with Subaru and partnering up with Mazda for even gas-powered stuff, and all these partnerships we're seeing, and yet Mazda is going it alone with so many of these things that are very expensive things. I really don't understand how this is possible. I really hope we don't hear about some kind of crazy financial stuff at Mazda in the future, but for now, I mean, it is really impressive the amount of stuff they're able to pull off all on their own here. And that's not the end of it either, because Mazda also revealed this week that the new Skyactiv-Z motor that I covered back in the fall will also be designed for hybrid applications and be paired with their own hybrid system that they're also developing. So, they did this partnership with the CX-50 hybrid where they used Toyota's hybrid stuff, and I thought surely this is what they're going to do, as this kind of stopgap until we get to the fully electric Mazdas in the future. But no, they're also developing their own hybrid system. Again, I don't understand how they're developing rotary engines again. They're developing their own hybrid system. They're developing their own EVs and this groundbreaking gas engine as well. Again, I don't know how, unless these people are working for free, I don't know how they're doing all this stuff. But anyway, again, just very impressive to see all this. And so they say that this new Skyactiv-Z engine with this hybrid system will all be debuting in the next-gen CX-5, which they say will debut in late 2027. That is a little bit of a curveball and a question mark in my mind, at least. A little confusing because, we've already seen the new CX-5 in camo, and it looks pretty much production ready. I think everyone was assuming a reveal this year, but it's maybe just another refresh to tie them over for a couple of years until we get a fully next-gen version. But the silhouette that we see with the Skyactiv-Z kind of matches up with those spy shots. So I don't know if they're going to do a super early reveal or, I don't know how to reconcile them saying this isn't coming until late 2027 unless we're getting carryover engines for CX-5 first for the next generation and then Skyactiv-Z comes in late 2027. I guess that's the only other way to spin that. And maybe that's more likely what we'll see is we'll see a regular non-hybrid CX-5 debut this year. And then we see the hybrid version come in late 2027, this new platform or this new powertrain and all that. I guess that's most likely what we're seeing here. But yeah, interesting to see, that little, curveball there as far as that goes. Now, as far as this new engine, the Skyactiv-Z, for those of you who missed the update back in the fall about this, it'll be a 2.5-liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder engine, and they're saying it'll be the ideal internal combustion engine, evolving from their current engines to have even higher thermal efficiency and an overwhelmingly wider range. And this is to reach the ultimate combustion threshold for better fuel efficiency and less emissions, they say. Again, we'll see. They're talking, a big game about this engine here. Now, they did say that, if they had to adapt their current engines for the Euro 7 emissions regulations and the other U.S. Emissions regulations that were supposed to be coming, that probably aren't coming anymore. But, if they were to adapt current motors for that, they would have lost 30% of the horsepower. And they say with this new motor, they're meeting all those or exceeding all those standards and keeping the same kind of horsepower that we're used to from naturally aspirated Mazdas already. And so that's, on its own, very impressive that you're essentially gaining, out of the same kind of displacement and everything, you're gaining 30% of power and doing it with supposedly better fuel efficiency. Again, we'll have to wait till we get all the actual numbers, but very impressive. They're talking about diesel-like kind of efficiency while still having higher RPMs available and all that stuff. And very, very impressive. And they say these learnings will eventually be also applied to their inline six and rotaries as well. And so, yeah, I'm looking forward to to seeing this and trying out that final product, but very interesting to see that. And Ford this week has teased an Explorer Tremor for the first time, and it just says that it's coming soon. So how soon remains to be seen, but there didn't used to be any Tremor version of an Explorer. This is the first time for this. We did have the Timberline version for the pre-refresh Explorer, but that Timberline trim didn't make the jump to the refreshed version here for 2025. So I'm guessing this is why, because we'll have the Tremor instead. And Tremor most likely will up the ante from the Timberline a little bit, give you probably some knobbier tires, maybe even a suspension lift and a little bit of suspension work. We'll have to see. Very interesting to hear that, and I just still wouldn't expect too much as far as off-road capability, since it is just an Explorer, but we'll have to wait and see. But interesting to hear that. And for the last news story here, we have some very good news for wagon lovers here. So BMW's Vice President of Customer Brand and Sales told BMW Blog here recently that demand for the M5 Touring is much higher than BMW expected here in the US. And BMW had initially planned to have the production split be about 1/3 for the M5 Touring wagon and 2/3 for the sedan. But despite, again, them thinking that, now they're saying that they're seeing that it's about a 50-50 split, and they have boosted production of the wagon to accommodate those extra orders for it. And so they're running 50-50 production right now, which is great. And despite all the complaints and criticisms, from just about everyone online about the M5 being too bloated and heavy and this, that, and the other, BMW also says that demand in general for the M5 is higher than they expected. So they've also boosted production of the sedan beyond what they initially were planning. But then Touring production got boosted even more beyond that. And so they're, again, just going gangbusters over M5 production, it sounds like, with everything just exceeding expectations. And this is really great to see. And also great to see that they're not capping production. They could have taken the approach of, wow, look at all these orders. Let's make sure we do production nice and slow and, pad all these dealers with giant markups and, make these things super limited and exclusive. And instead they're like, let's build a ton of them. And I don't know, how much they're increasing, but they said they've, dramatically increased production here, especially on that wagon. And so just great that these aren't limited models, and that it sounds like they're churning out as many as people are ordering, which is fantastic and, very, very exciting to see. And hopefully this continues, and this isn't just an early adopter thing, but continues with this very strong demand for the wagon especially, and sends a strong message to BMW, for the long term here, that Americans do want wagons. This is how we get more wagons, is by buying the ones that are offered. And so, back in August of 2024, BMW's Vice President of Products said, if M5 Touring does well enough, maybe the next generation of the M3 Touring could come to America. So, I think it's already too late for the current M3 Touring that we're seeing, in Europe and elsewhere, but sounds like there is a next generation coming, and that's based on this, at least, if this keeps up with the M5 Touring here in the States, sounds like you can actually hopefully count on a new M3 Touring for the next generation, in 3 to 5 years or whatever, that could be offered here, which is very exciting. And obviously very few people are in the very privileged position of being able to order a brand new $125,000 M5 Touring. But for those of you that are in that position, good for you. Good on you for supporting the wagon cause. Thank you for your orders. And exciting to see that the wagon cause, at least in those upper echelons of performance vehicles, is seems to be very alive and well here. So anyway, very exciting to hear that. And lastly, I want to thank all of you that are members of the Maran Motoring Club. So we did have a bunch of new members that actually were able to join here this week, thanks to the gifted memberships that were given during last week's live stream. So first, I want to give a big thank you here to Kyle and Wheatman45 for your very generous gifting during the last live stream here. I really appreciate the generosity, of course, as do, I'm sure, all of those members. And the algorithm was pretty cool with giving a lot of new people memberships here. So we did have a couple that were able to just rejoin, but I want to give a big welcome here to all these new members, including Wolfie, 814 Pilot, Zach Malinowski, Henrik Larson, Raf, Chase Russell, Max Lopez, and FC. I hope you're all enjoying those membership perks so far, and be sure to send me a message if you want to get into the Discord server that is exclusive to those members. And also, I hope you're all enjoying all the other membership perks that come with being a member. Let me know, again, those new members, if there's anything else you'd like to see in the future. Always looking to do more here and hoping to do more soon. Yeah, if anyone else that would like to join, get that priority answering in the live stream, which is the other big perk here of being a member, there's always join buttons here on the video page, on the channel page, and a link in the description. But anyway, thank you all very much for watching. Let me know your thoughts on all the stuff in the comments below. Please leave a like and subscribe to keep these videos coming, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.